So good afternoon, everyone. Very good to see you here. And first of all, thank you so much, BITS, for inviting me to share the story about my personal collection of typewriters with you all today. So I hope it's going to be fun for all of you. So let's get started. So this is an Olympia Traveler Deluxe typewriter. So if any of you guys grew up in the same period like myself, this is something that you've seen in your childhood everywhere. It's quite ubiquitous. And if I remember it correctly, the summer after I finished my 6th grade, my parents sent me to a typewriting school in the neighborhood to learn how to touch type so that I can use my PC at home a little bit more efficient. And that was the first time that I had, actual interaction with the real typewriter. And just like everything else from my childhood, soon after it became obsolete. And fast forward to 2018, I was traveling to Italy, and I saw this exhibition that celebrated 110 years of Olivetti, the Italian company that makes typewriters. And when I saw the entrance of the exhibition, they mounted these 6 really beautiful typewriters onto the wall. And I just became, I just fell in love with it. It looks so nice. Look at them, pure industrial design goodness. And then, coming back home to Thailand, I started looking up typewriters. And one day, I found an ad on Facebook Marketplace. And I found this teal green Olivetti Lettera 32 typewriter was on sale. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. So I contacted the seller. And I got my first typewriter, Olivetti Lettera 32 with the Thai script. Made in Yugoslavia. I was so happy. And soon after, I really immersed myself into the world of typewriter online, trying to learn as much information as I can about it. And something I didn't really know before was that typewriters, you can actually choose font. So this is a poster from Olivetti from 1938. In 1938, you can already choose fonts, different fonts for your typewriters. And so I thought to myself, my next acquisition would be something special. And little did I know that the next typewriter. So I found this typewriter on sale again online. And and I decided to buy it without knowing, what it's going to look like. But based on the industrial design and the look of it, I really like it. So it's an Olympia Splendid 33. It's a very tiny, compact typewriter. And I was so lucky because I found a jackpot. With it came a typewriter with the script font. And it also came with, the warranty, paperwork and everything. And I was so excited. I was so obsessed. And I determined that, okay, game on now. So the next one that I'm going to get is going to be even better than this one. And so here comes my third typewriter. So this one is an Olympia SM3. It's a desktop typewriter, so it's quite big and clunky. And I really took a bet on this one, so I wanted to show you the image that I saw when the seller posted online. So this is what it looked like. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but the case was a wooden case, and it was eaten by termite. And the whole typewriter was like so filthy, and it took me a while once I got it and to clean it up, and it looked so nice. But I really took a bet because, as you know, as a designer, we pay attention to details. I zoom in, and I saw that on the keyboard, it has Thai numerics, and I've never owned a typewriter with Thai numbers before, so I really took a bet on it, and it really paid off. And so that's how I started with my typewriter collection. And yeah. So just to show you a few pictures of all the sexy goodness. On the right-hand side is a very famous one, Olivieri Valentine, designed by Italian legendary designer Ettore Sossas. And yeah, I was fortunate to acquire it into my collection as well. So, 19 typewriters later. Well, I think I've learned something about typewriter that I feel like maybe I wanted to share with you guys today. So these are all arranged in chronological order in the year of make. So there's actually a website online where you can look up the serial number of your typewriter to find out when it was made. So yeah, I did all that. And now I have 19 typewriters from 8 different brands. Most of them are from Europe, that were made from 1954 to 1976, so basically, mid-century. I have 10 of them are in English, 8 of them are in Thai, and then I have also 1 in Burmese, which is really cool. So now that I've learned about all the typewriters, so I can tell you guys a little bit more about the basic, right? So basically, typewriter, as you know, is monospace. It means that all the character occupy the same amount of space. And the way they measure it is within an inch. So they measure a character per inch. We call that pitch. And why is pitch important? Pitch is important because it will determine before you buy a typewriter, whether you want a bigger font size or a smaller font size. So the bigger font size or 10 pitch, we call them pica, and the smaller font size or 12 pitch, we call them elite. So now you know. So being a good student, I took all my typewriter out and I start exploring, I start typing in order to kind of match what I've learned online and what I have physically. So I type everything out, I measure them with a ruler in order to learn about the specimen that I have. So here we have 3 different typewriters from 3 different years and 4 different companies, from Olympia, Olivetti, Triumph, and Adler. And I measured them, how many characters are there in an inch, and I found out that, I have 1 in pica, and the 3 of them are in elite size. But you also notice that, there's 11 and 11.5, which we'll talk about now. So what happens when you actually have the same type size, but you can fit more into an inch? It just means that if I use my yellow Triumph typewriter, I can just fit more character into a page, right? Which is really cool. But I also have a different typewriter, an Adler, which has also another completely different typeface. So this one, what you can see is that the letter height is a little bit shorter. So that means that when you type up a really dense document, it will read, it will feel breathier on a page. So for those of you who were born after the 90s, the way typewriter work is that once you hit the keyboard, basically it activates the type slug, and then the type slug will hit the ink ribbon, and then the ink ribbon will make an imprint on the paper, and that's how we create print, right? And this is a zoom in of an ink ribbon. This is what it looks like. So basically, ink ribbons back in the day were made from woven fabric. It could be cotton, it could be nylon, it could be silk. And today what we have is a very cheap nylon ribbon. And you can see on the right, you can see the woven pattern of the fabric being imprinted onto the paper. So that means that, you know, if you have a really cheap quality ribbons that doesn't really have a large thread count, so the thread are very loosely, then you see it, you know, pixelated on your print. I also managed to get my hands on different type of ribbons. I found a vintage stock, a new stock that has never been used, of a plastic carbon ribbon. So what does a plastic carbon ribbon look like? It looked kind of like your whiteout correction tape, right? And so I kind of experiment with these two type of ribbon to see how it looks on the page. And showing you guys here, it's just some comparison of, you know, on the left-hand side, you have the plastic carbon ribbon, which give you a very crisp and sharp print. And on the right-hand side, you know, it looks a little bit smudgy with the cheap nylon ribbon that you can get. And another thing about, you know, if you've used typewriter before is, you know, how the print will look depends on how hard you press it. You know, if you really, really mean it and press it really hard, the print will come out quite dark. But it also depends on the ribbon. If the ribbon is kind of damp and soaking wet with ink, then, you know, the print will become darker. But if you use it for a while, the ink has dried up, then you get a very light print. So there's so many factors to really think about, and think about that as a type designers. You know, you have to take into account all these factors in order to design the letter form. So I really respect those people. Yeah, and showing you another one. So in this one on my Adler Tipper, you can see clearly that they use a different design of the types. And this one, you have the contrast line weight. You can clearly see the thick and thin weight. So now let's talk about the types. After digging through online resources, also found out that back in the day, you can also buy ready-made types from Type Foundry. So at the early 1900s, there were these two companies, Alfred Ransmeyer and Albert Rodrien, which later on they kind of merged and formed into one company called Raro Type. So basically, they made these pre-made types that if you are a typewriter manufacturing, you can order these pre-made type and install it on your typewriter, so you don't have to redesign any script yourself. Pretty cool, right? And you can see that on the type slot, there's these little symbol that indicate, you know, the brand of the type and also the number in the catalog. So you can see the Rodin number 1 and then the Ransmeyer number 58, right? Sure enough, I went back to my typewriter and I start looking. This is my Triumph, and I was like, wow, okay. So there's row 424. So I went back online and consulted a catalog from Raro Type. Sure enough, I found that, you know, there's row 424, Siamese Elite, and this is a ready-made type from Raro that this typewriter company has bought and used. So again, I went back to my Adler and see whether or not I can find something interesting, and sure enough, you know, there's again row 421. And this one is interesting because they name it Siamese Elite Chatten, and Chatten in German means shadow, so it kind of makes sense with the contrasting line weight. Again, there are a few more design in the catalog. And then I came across this one. It says Siamese pica, and I know that my Olympia has a pica size, and I thought, oh, is it the same design? So I look, But no, there's no Raro logo on the type slug at all. So I start digging a little bit deeper. So I basically type up, the exact same wording in order to compare the two. So can you guys spot the difference between the two? So for me, like, I love my Olympia, and I think the type design is really beautiful. So you can see that the loop on the letter form is a little bit bigger. It's kind of like when you wear those big eye contact lens and it makes you look cuter. I felt the same way, yeah. So yeah, even though even though it looks almost the same, but there are little details that makes it different, and I guess that's how different brands back in the day tried to kind of make a distinctive looking type. And then I read an article and I learned that Olympia, which has a very long company history in Thailand, have commissioned their own set of type design. And also other companies such as Olivetti, where they have really enough resources, they also do their own design. But with all this, it's not that interesting. When you learn about touch typing, they always tell you not to look at the keyboard, right? But I found that the keyboard is actually something very interesting on the typewriters. So these are a comparison of 4 of my typewriters, and you see lots of magical stuff on the actual keyboard. But before we go there, I want to show you this one. I think keyboard can also sometimes be deceptive. Can you guys spot anything interesting with this keyboard? No? Okay. So you see that on the keyboard, it's indicate that it used Thai numerals. But on the actual type slug, it used Arabic numerals. So if you were to look at the keyboard and you think that, you get this typewriter with the Thai numerals, you might be disappointed because it doesn't come with the Thai numerals. So that's something I've also learned from just owning different typewriters. So these are 8 of my typewriters with the Thai script, the key for Tha Thong and Sara'a. So you can see that they are wildly different in terms of the shape and the colors of the key itself, but also the way that they design the letter form, which has nothing to do with what's on the type slug whatsoever. So I really encourage you guys, if you own keyboards or if you have typewriter, maybe to go back and take a look. This one, Taonang Monto and Paul Pan. So my favorite one is the third one in the bottom. So you see Paul Pan, it looks almost like a worm. You notice some of them, the loop has an opening, and some of them it just almost look like a dot with no opening. So it might have to do with also the manufacturing process. So to make these typewriters key, they actually inject the plastic twice. So first they inject the plastic in the color of the letter form, and then they inject the plastic for the whole shape of the keys. And this one is my favorite. Honokuk and all. So it's so wild. You never see Honokuk written like that on any on any like official type, but you see it on the keyboard. So without having the physical typewriters to investigate or to play with or to look at, I wouldn't have known all of this. So now that I know all of this, I just wanted to kind of connect the dot. this morning, Philip already gave a brief overview about the history of Thai letter form, right? And as you can see here from the timeline, about 200 years ago, we start to have a printing press and we start to print material in Thailand. And about 50 some years later, the first typewriter was imported. Well, it was invented in the States, and you can see the image on the right. The first kind of typewriter has 84 keys, 7 rows of them, and each individual keys, represent like 1 letter. And of course, in Thai alphabet, we have 44 letters, and they couldn't fit all of them with all the vowels and everything. So that was the first time where they cut Kal Kwat and Kal Kon, and it's disappeared until we start having computer. In 1922, which is like 101 years ago, right? We started to see keyboard that resemble what we see today. So basically, they add a shift key. It means that if you hit the shift buttons, there are 2 levels. So you can add more letters, and it will make the keyboard a lot more compact. And now that I know all of this, I started to wonder, is there really other types of letter form from typewriter that I've never seen before? And so I started looking online. And as this was going on, COVID was happening. So of course I have a lot of time at hand. So I start looking up online, webboard, and sometimes they have like groups that share vintage ephemera, and I started collecting them in order to understand a little bit more. So this specimen came from a letter in 1913. It was a letter with the company letterhead. Did you guys see the elephant and the pineapple? So this company sells pineapples, and it's so cute, right, with the logo. But what makes me interested in this is that the letter form looks so different. I've never seen, a Thai type that looks quite squarish like this before on a typewriter. And again, I saw a different letter form, and this one is from 1925. So you can see that these are mostly letters, like official letters and commercial letters, and it kind of reflects also the use of typewriters along the timeline, right? So earlier, the only people who can afford to have typewriters are either government official or people who has their own business, because typewriters were quite expensive back in the day. And again, I found a different look of the type. So now this one looks more or less like the type collection that I've already have on my typewriters. But I also learned that after the manual typewriters, there's also another set of newer technology, like this one from IBM, where they put where it's an electric typewriter, but also instead of a type slot, they use a golf ball style to type. And this is an example of what it looks like when you type it up on a paper. And as Philip already mentioned earlier, after I see these different design on the type from typewriters, I started to make the connection, and I remember that one of the earlier archetype of the Thai letter form came from this book, The Flag Regulations for the Kingdom of Siam, 1891. And so I went back and take a look, and sure enough, I thought, I found something. So in comparison to the earlier specimen of a letter typed with a typewriter, I kind of put them next to each other, and I started to see the resemblance. So I think what exists before, hot metal type actually influence how the letter form is being used and being reappropriated for a different set of technology, which is a typewriter. So you can see, all these letters that are, quite similar. And this one specifically, I noticed because you can see on Paupan and Nonu that the loop is actually in the middle of the stem, which we don't really do that anymore. And what did I learn from all of this? I think technology exists not on its own. It exists on a timeline. It exists as a part of the larger history. When you kind of put them together, trying to make sense of all the chaos, you can actually learn to appreciate, the development and the amount of work that had gone into the creation and how it has evolved over time. And I really think that, it opens up a lot more opportunity. You can use this as a basis to do more research, a basis to do a type revival, or to actually understand your own history a little bit better. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share with you guys today. And I really hope that my little curiosity that took me all this way can also inspire you to pay attention, asking questions, and look at the little details in your everyday life as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajaran Santi.